Yeah, I'm not a squatter when there's a rental agreement. Mhm. And when the rental agreement is with a charity that's been paying the rent, yeah, we're going to need it in writing and we're going to need it from a judge. Yeah. Now, just so that you understand, I'm not being mean. Yeah. But somebody took it upon themselves to do something that happens to be illegal. Yes. And when the rental agreement was or is with those that own the house, yeah, and the rent is being paid from a charity, yeah, you're going to need a court order now. Now, for all of you that want to kick my butt for doing it this way, somebody in the city took it upon themselves to violate the laws of the United States, not realizing that there was no termination of rental agreement. No. There was no documentation of the obligation of myself to move. Yes. And as far as I know, the rent was paid this month. And whatever you decide to do with that money, yeah, I do not have control of it. Yes. Now, as far as I know, the rent was being received, at least, December was received and November was received. Yeah. So you can just use that money to pay an attorney to motion the court. Yes. And then I will get notification from the charity. I'll email them today. Yeah. And they can give me notification that it's a termination of rental agreement. It doesn't reflect poorly on my credit report. Oh! It's something that does happen in special circumstances. Pooh. Now, the Federal Victim and Witness Protection Act, yeah, it established a number of rights for the federal crime victim. I'm actually now a federal crime victim. Yes. I mentioned that the federal government owns this house. Yeah. And as much as we dislike the thought of federal government, well, considering me a victim, yeah, I'm going to want the timely restitution, the fair treatment, and the notifications of all the hearings that the city's going to receive. Ah! Because I'm not going to just throw everything away, yes, so that I can just walk up to the homeless shelter and stay there. Yeah. We're going to need to give me back my deposit. We're going to need to terminate the rental agreement. Ah! And we're going to need to make sure that the police and sheriff doesn't come over here and say you're squatting in a place. Yeah, we're going to need to do that. Now, the Victim of Crime Act establishes the Victims Fund. The Crime Victims Fund supports victims' assistance and compensation programs. I'm going to want a large check from that fund. Could you call the federal government and find out how much money they have? Oh, because it looks to me, yes, that the federal government is having a difficult time in actually compensating those that are victims of crime. Now, if you wanted to give me a large amount of money, yes, I could get that termination of rental agreement. Right. They could pay the rent for February. Yes. And I could reside someplace else the whole time and the charity wouldn't know that. See, as much as they pay the rent, yeah, and the rent should be paid, right? I don't have an obligation to reside where I'm renting. It seems somewhat dishonest to not tell them, but I could live in a five-star hotel, yes, the whole time. And I could be living off the crime victims fund because the federal government's going to pay me a money.